All right. So for the recording, welcome back. We are studying the Heart Sutra. I think this is class 5, and I will not take a break in the middle of a course again. I can't. I'm all mixed up. So I'll do my best. It is January 17th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about karma and emptiness, we get a glimpse into how it's possible. And so we grow our wish to help into a longing. And even into a determination. Then we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. Okay. So again, let's listen to the Heart Sutra. You're welcome to read with yours if you like. If you know it, recite it, or just listen as you wish. Adding, I'm going to mute you here in case you want to recite along with me. Okay. All right, ready? The Lady of Conquest, the heart of the perfection of wisdom. Once I heard this teaching. The conqueror was staying on Vulture's Peak in the keep of the king. With him was a great gathering of monks and a great gathering of warrior saints. At a certain moment, the conqueror went into deep meditation on the part of the teachings known as the awareness of the profound. At that moment, too, did the realized being, the great warrior, the Lord of power, loving eyes, see into this one deep practice, the practice of the perfection of wisdom. And he saw perfectly that the 5 heaps, the 5 parts of a person, were empty of any nature of their own. And then, by the power of the enlightened one, the junior monk named Shariputra turned and asked this question of the great warrior, loving eyes, the realized one, the Lord of power. If any son or daughter of noble family hope to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom, what would they have to do? This then is the answer that the Lord of power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes, gave to the junior monk named Shariputra. Here, Shariputra is what any son or daughter of noble family should see, who hopes to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom. See first all 5 heaps, all 5 parts of a person are empty of any essence of their own. Your body is empty. Emptiness is your body. Emptiness is nothing but your body, and your body is nothing but emptiness. The same is true of your feeling, your ability to discriminate between things, and the other factors that make you up, and all the different kinds of awareness that you possess. All of them are empty. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that every existing thing is emptiness. Nothing has any characteristic of its own. Nothing ever begins. Nothing ever ends. Nothing is ever impure. Nothing ever becomes pure. Nothing ever gets less, and nothing ever becomes more. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that with emptiness there is no body. There are no feelings. There is no ability to discriminate. There are none of the other factors that make you up, and there is no awareness. There are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to smell, nothing to taste, nothing to touch, and nothing to think of. There is no part of you that sees. There is no part of you that is aware of what you see. And this is true all the way up to the part of you that thinks, and the part of you that is aware that you are thinking. There is no misunderstanding your world. There is no stopping this misunderstanding. And the same is true all the way up to your old age and your death, and to stopping your old age and your death. There is no suffering. There is no source of this suffering. There is no stopping this suffering. There is no path to stop this suffering. There is no knowledge. There is nothing to reach. There is nothing not to reach. Thus it is, Shariputra, that warrior saints have nothing to reach. And because of this, they are able to practice the perfection of wisdom and stay in this perfection of wisdom. This frees them of every obstacle in their minds, and it frees them from all fears. They go beyond all wrong ways of thinking and reach to the ultimate end of nirvana. All the enlightened beings of the past and present and future too follow this same perfection of wisdom, and thus bring themselves to perfect enlightenment, to the matchless state of a totally enlightened Buddha. Thus are they the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, the sacred words of great knowledge, sacred words of the unsurpassable, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal, sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain, sacred words you should know are true, for false they cannot be, sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. Tayata gate gate paragate parasangate bodhiswaha. And thus it is, Shariputra, that great warrior saints must train themselves in the profound perfection of wisdom. With this, the conqueror stirred himself from his deep state of meditation. He turned to the great warrior, to the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, and blessed his words, saying, "True, true," he said, "and true again. Thus it is, O son of noble family, just so is it. One should follow the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have taught it. Every one of those gone thus rejoices in your words as I do." And when the conqueror had spoken thus, the junior monk Shariputra took joy, and the warrior, the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, took joy as well. And all the assembled disciples took joy, and so did the entire world, with its gods and its men and near gods and spirits too take joy. All sang their praises of what the conqueror had spoken. All right, remember that? Okay, let's get my screen share up here. I don't get to see everybody when I've got this big screen share going, so please forgive me for that. So the last class, according to where my mark is, we were talking about that verse that says, your body is empty, emptiness is your body, emptiness is nothing but your body, and your body is nothing but emptiness. Do you remember that? There it is. Loving Eyes is saying to Shariputra, Umpo napo de da kyang no niki tompa nampar jesu ta o. Suk tompa o. Body is empty. Technically, suk is the first heap, the heap of form. Emptiness. Empty. Tompa ni suk so. Emptiness is heap of form. Sukle tompa ni shenmai in. My body is empty. Emptiness is my body. Emptiness is nothing but my body. And tompa nilaye sukshen mayin. No, my body is nothing but emptiness. Is that how it goes? Yes. Mm. Meaning, my body is empty. Meaning every experience of my physical world is empty of self-nature. Has no identity or characteristic or function in it from it, whether it's anything about my physical body or anything about my physical world, meaning my world that I see, hear, smell, taste, touch. So it's a lot of stuff in our suk category, our heap of form. No nature of its own. Does that mean it doesn't exist at all? No. What's there, we know, we understand, our learning is a projected result of imprints made on our consciousness by how the consciousness of the moment was aware of itself interacting with an other. And that creates an imprint on that consciousness that does something and finally creates its result. And the result is the self and the other and the interaction between experience happening. And it has no other nature than that. Suk tompao, right? My body is empty. Emptiness is my body, meaning that without a ripening, without a physical body, there's no emptiness of that physical body. And that's significant because it means there's no big outer emptiness existing that shape shifts into our experience. Then sukle tompa ni shenmai in, it's showing again how the pair of appearances and the empty nature of those appearances have to go hand in hand. They aren't even two separate things that go hand in hand. It takes both to have anything, any experience. Sukle tompani shenmai in, my body is empty, emptiness is my body, emptiness is nothing but my body, meaning there is no emptiness until that unique experience of the moment of my physical world is appearing. Then there's the emptiness of that appearance. The appearance requires the emptiness. And the fourth one is the emptiness of that appearance requires the appearance. So these four lines are fine-tuning our ability to understand the significance of the marriage of karma and emptiness. Call that one thing. I like the term profound dependence because that refers to the two together. So see first all five heaps, all five parts of a person. it says as being empty of any essence of their own. I prefer the English, see all five parts of a person are empty. Because to say as being empty of, and you could see them as being something else as well, which you could, and you'd be wrong. So I can see why they use this phrase, but in my own mind, I always have to think they are empty. But then I'm kind of thinking self-existently about that. Regardless, as being empty of any essence of their own. My body is empty. Emptiness is my body. Emptiness is nothing but my body, and my body is nothing but emptiness. That's where we left off talking about the ramifications of that. No, that's not quite where we left off. We left off talking about the five heaps. So he goes on with Deshan, Du, Sorwa, Dong, Du, She, Dong, Du, Je, Nam, Dong, Nam, Shepa, Nam, Tongpa, O. The same is true of your feeling, your ability to discriminate between things, the other factors that make you up, and all the different kinds of awareness that you possess, all of them are empty. So we would take each one of these heaps and apply those four statements. My feeling is empty. Emptiness is my feeling. Emptiness is nothing but my feeling. Wait, how does it go? My feeling is nothing but emptiness, and emptiness is nothing but my feeling. And it gets a little bit harder to decipher. Feeling meaning just the thumbs up, thumbs down, instant reaction to any moment of perception. So we have an instant of experience, and the experience, and then thumbs up, like we lean into it, or thumbs down, we push away from it. And then of course, hot on the heels of that is we've identified the thing. And hot on the heels of that is our actual response, our actual reaction to it. All the emotions and mental afflictions, etc., that are set in motion that lead to our action in response, whether the action is to do nothing, to go away, to respond back. All of that requires the awareness of all those different factors happening, and that's our heap of awareness. So we're being asked, suggested to investigate each one of those heaps such that we can come to recognize how we're holding that aspect of our experience as having some nature of its own, characteristic of its own, function of its own, to come to see that, oh my gosh, it can't. It has to be a ripening result of my past behavior. And so if it's a thumbs up and I want more, I'm all right. I want to do more kindness. If it's a thumbs down and I want less of that, I must create more kindness, right? Either way, the end result is keep my morality, keep my vows, be more kind, be more compassionate, not because Buddha said so, but because I'm coming to that conclusion myself by way of this investigation of why is one thing a thumbs up and something else a thumbs down when there's nothing in it from it that could trigger that. It has to be something forced on me by me, right? Because it's unique to me. Anyway, same for the ability to tell things apart, the ability to identify things. all the other factors that make us up, all of our emotions, our beliefs, and all the different kinds of awareness, all of them have no identity, nature, function in them from them. They exist, yes, because our seeds are creating them, and they have no existence other than that. And so when you have the pair of a ripening seed and the emptiness of the subject-object interaction between within that seed, you have me and my life, you and your life. And that means because nothing has any nature of its own, anything can be anything at any moment, but only by way of what seeds ripen, which means where we can make changes is by how we plant our seeds, right? It's logical. It's so logical. And then becoming a Buddha just becomes like mathematics. Burn off the seeds made with ignorance, plant seeds with wisdom. And when those are ripening, your experience is Buddha you and Buddha paradise emanating. It won't happen any other way than by creating the seeds that ripen into that experience. Okay, so I think we also talked a little bit about how these 5 heaps, each one has when it's purified, becomes a wisdom, a Buddha wisdom, which become the 5 Buddha families, which when you're a full-on Buddha, you are all 5 of those. And so just to review that, because it's a list that is so juicy, you'll want to come back to it again and again and again. Heap number 1 is the heap of physical form. Call it our body, but it's any physical form. Its the mental affliction associated with physical form is ignorance. And when that ignorance is purified, what you are, what you have, is your what's called mirror wisdom, the Buddha wisdom called mirror wisdom, which is this perceiving profound dependence all the time and more. Then heap number 2, feeling. The mental afflictions associated with feeling is that pride and stinginess, possessiveness. And when those are purified, we have equal wisdom, which means equal love and concern for all existence. Then the heap of discriminating between things, heap number 3, is associated with the mental affliction of ignorant liking, so desire. And when that's purified, it transforms into analytical wisdom. Analytical wisdom means like directly aware of where everything comes from. I like to think of it as that direct perception of all the karmic correlations, although it's much more than that. And then the 4th heap, all the other factors, corresponds to jealousy. And that purified is accomplishing wisdom. And then the 5th heap, consciousness, it is correlated with ignorant disliking. That one I can't quite figure out. All the rest seem pretty clear. But this one I don't quite see why ignorant disliking is correlated with consciousness. When it's purified, what we have is called the Dharma Dhatu wisdom, the wisdom of the sphere of all things, meaning the emptiness of the other 4 wisdoms. So that, anyway, that's where we left off. And in the sutra, what we've done so far, according to Choni Lama's commentary, is the conversation is taking us through our path of accumulation and our path of preparation. So the path of accumulation, I mean, we sort of went through that just to get to this class at all. There's something wrong with my world, and it's so wrong that, you know, I just can't tolerate it anymore. And there must be somebody who knows how to stop this process or how to change it, or at least knows what's wrong. And we went searching and searching, and finally, right, we landed somewhere where somebody told us the pen thing. And oh my gosh, you know, I think this is my path. So path of accumulation is that path of renunciation, not meaning, oh, I'm going to give up my life and go, you know, live under a bridge, but meaning I just reject, you know, everything that I thought I knew about the world that told me how I should behave. And now I want to find a way that helps me create a pure world for everybody, Mahayana renunciation. Then path of preparation is once we find a teaching and a teacher that makes sense to us and fits us, we dive in with both feet, don't we, Venerable Ketting, and study, contemplate, meditate, serve others, keep our vow book, right? Check our behavior, change our behavior according to what we're learning. Path of preparation. What are we preparing for? The path of seeing. We're preparing for the third of those 5 paths, the path of seeing. And in path of preparation, it sounds like the way we prepare for the path of seeing is to just think about emptiness so much that we understand it so close to perfectly that when we meditate on it, we ought to be able to get it right. And then that means we need to meditate well enough so that we can slide into that deep platform of meditation and hold it long enough to let ourselves go into that no self nature experience. But technically, our path of preparation is the time in which we are burning off our negatives, and with our study, contemplation, service, and meditation, service, and keeping our making our behavior more kind, what we're really doing is gathering the virtue, the goodness that can ripen into that experience of the direct perception of emptiness, because that's such a powerful goodness, a powerful pleasure. It takes a huge amount of goodness to create it. So yes, we're intellectually learning, but if our intellectual learning does not help us change our behavior to create more kindness, that direct perception is not going to happen, even if we can get to that platform, and even if our intellectual understanding is so close. Right? We need the goodness ripening for that experience. So part of path of preparation is this increasing kindness. All right. So next says Chenrezig, Charipu, de tawa na, chu tamche tompa ni de seni mepa, ma kepa, ma gakpa, drima mepa, drima dangdrawa mepa, driwa mepa gangwe mepa o. Thus we can say, Shariputra, that every existing thing is emptiness. Nothing has any characteristic of its own. I like to say no thing. It helps me, I don't know, get bigger. No thing ever begins. No thing ever ends. No thing is ever impure. No thing ever becomes pure. No thing ever gets less, and no thing ever becomes more. Now, wait a minute. Is that consistent with our experience? That nothing ever begins? No, things begin all the time. Nothing ever ends. Things end all the time. Are some things impure and some things pure? Well, more or less, right? Do things ever get less and do things ever become more? Do things like get subtracted from or added to? It's like in my experience, yes. Do we think those are doing those things? Do we think something begins all on its own, independent of any other factor? I don't know. I argue no. We understand that everything that begins had to have some reason to begin. The little seed had to get some rain and some sunshine and some warmth, and then it can make the sprout, and then it can make the flowers. So, Buddha, I don't believe things are self-existent, but do I believe that all that happens independent of unique to my perception? Yes. I think that seed is there. And if there's enough sun, water, etc., it will grow into flowers, whether I ever see it or not, whether I ever know it or not. And, there's wildflowers all over Arizona that I don't know anything about, but when I think of them, they must be there. That's me thinking self-existently because I'm believing that they're there in some way, independent of my thinking of them being there in the way that I do. So it's starting to get slippy. Words fail to express what is really trying to be said here. So Choni Lama, thank you for commentaries. Thank you, Geshe Michael. Says that at this point in the sutra, Lord Buddha is pushing everybody into the understanding of what happens in the direct perception of emptiness and the ramifications of that experience. So in that third path, Tonglam, the path of seeing, we understand that that's that 15 to 20 minute period when we are directly perceiving the no self nature of all existence, particularly of what we call ourself. And to get there, our path of preparation has grown the goodness such that we've gained these 4 realizations that come first, the final one being the direct experience of dependent origination, the direct experience of something that you're perceiving at the moment. And your experience is the mental seeds ripening into this experience, me seeing stapler. And this direct ramification of that experience, which is there's no stapler in it from it, that the one that I'm experiencing is this mental overlay onto some sensory information. And when we have that experience, which happens outside of meditation, oh, whoa, that's That's how things exist. That's how everything appears to me. Run and jump on your meditation cushion. And I'm being absolutely serious. If it happens to you driving to work, right? Sorry, I'm going to be late for work. Sit in your car. Go into as deep a meditation as you can, because it's your window into the direct perception of emptiness. To have this direct perception of the seed ripening into the thing you're experiencing, Chutrok, it's called, is this opportunity to get into direct perception. In the direct perception, do you see the stapler? No. Do you see yourself? No. In the direct perception, all that's being experienced is the absence of self-nature. And they say, and there's nothing more you can say about it, but we go on trying to explain it. And all the explanations will fall short from the experience. We will know once we have the experience. So in this verse about every existing thing's emptiness, nothing has any characteristic of its own, does not mean nothing has no characteristic at all. Well, it does mean nothing has any characteristic at all, because any characteristic that we see in any given thing is not in it. It's imposed upon it by the experiencer of it. But then that doesn't like go into the essence of the thing that then takes it along with it somewhere else. So even as my ripening seeds make this into a red and white pen from AARP, it doesn't make this have that characteristic itself. It's always going to be unique to me. It's unique to you. So no thing has any characteristic of its own. It appears to have the characteristic the experiencer is experiencing it as having. Follow that? So even when something appears to begin, I click the pen and I begin to write with it. That beginning to write is also ripening results, forcing me to have that experience, beginning to write. The seed coming up into the sprout, my seeds ripening for that to be happening. My seeds ripening that the seed needs water, sunshine, warmth to do that. Nothing begins without some other factor. And at highest school, the other factor is the ripening result of past behavior of the one who's experiencing that thing that's beginning. Same for ending. Same for a thing's impurity. Same for a thing's purity. Same for something getting less, as in our misunderstanding our world, getting less and less and less. And same for anything ever becoming more, as in our growing wisdom, our growing Buddhahood. Won't exist, can't exist in any other way than by an experience forced on us by the ripening results of our past, way in which we've imprinted our mind by way of our behavior. Okay, you with me so far? So we're moving in the sutra into these verses that are trying to show us the ramification of our direct perception of emptiness. I'm going to keep going here. Charipu de ta we na tompanila sukme storome dusheme duje name nampar shepame. Wait, there's more. No, there's not. Okay. Wait, there is. Okay. Do you recognize these? Sukme, Tsorome, Dushime, Dujename, Namparshepame. Those are the heaps, the 5 heaps. Form, Sukme, Suk. Sorwa, feeling, thumbs up, thumbs down. Dushe, telling things, defining things. Duje, all the other factors that make me up. And Namparshepa, my awareness, consciousness of all those other things. May means there's not, doesn't exist, not. So with Tompani, with emptiness, there is no body, no feelings, no ability to discriminate, like no discriminating happening, no other factors that make me up, and no awareness. That's a little weird. So in the direct perception of emptiness, are you aware of your self with its body sitting on its cushion, analyzing whether or not those experiences have any nature of their own? No. Are you experiencing directly the fact that no thing has any nature of its own, including oneself, including one's awareness of oneself? You know, we can say yes, but we'll probably be misunderstanding it when we say it. In the direct perception of emptiness, all that's being experienced is ultimate reality. And ultimate reality is the no self nature of all existence. Geshe-la says, if I took away all the things which I'm projecting, let's say it, if we take away all the projections happening, like it can't ever happen, but if you could, and just stare at the fact that all those things I just removed were never there in them, from them, I'd be perceiving emptiness directly. So if that's helpful, use it. I find it a little not sure. Yes, Kadi.
I beg your pardon for interrupting. Would you please repeat that sentence?
I will. He says, if I took away all the things which I'm projecting and just stare at the fact that they never were there by themselves, I will be perceiving emptiness directly.
Thank you.
And we're going to explore that as we add the 4th step in Kedrej's meditation later in this class, is what Geshe-la means by that. So when we enter into that 20-minute or so experience of the direct experience of ultimate reality, we can't be aware of anything other than this absence. Because to be aware of something is a ripening presence. Now, the awareness of the absence is a ripening too. It's a projection. It can't happen in any other way. But it's the first time we ever have a projection of the absence of something. Like we don't have the seeds yet to ripen a projection of an experience of an absence. It's called the experience of non-duality. It doesn't mean, oh, I've become all one, but it's this subject-object interaction happening, emptiness of that whole process, the lack of self-nature of all of it. Words fail, but I keep trying, right? Because I'm supposed to deliver this class to try to bring you to an aha. So I'm supposed to keep trying until I see a face go, oh, right? But I only have 3 faces and they've already gone, oh, but I'm going to keep at it till I've covered what's in my notes. So you cannot be aware of yourself perceiving emptiness directly while you're in it. And yet it's not like deep black sleep. You know, you go to sleep, dreamless sleep, and then you wake up and there was like no awareness of anything in that deep black sleep. If I'm understanding the description of direct perception of emptiness, it's not like you're fall asleep and then wake up and, oh my gosh, that's what I saw, right? It's not like that. It's not just unconscious. In the direct perception, direct experience of the absence of self-nature, there is only absence. And it's such a goodness to experience that we only have seeds to sustain it for a short period of time, 15, 20 minutes, apparently, is the average. And then we're stirred out of it. Our seeds shift, right? So they've been ripening, direct perception, and then those direct perception seeds are done. And we don't like pop out of it. We come down out of it. And in that coming down, we're aware of the ramifications of what we just experienced. And those ramifications of what we just experienced form, solidify into the 4 Arya truths, each of which have 4 different aspects. So the 16 aspects of the 4 Arya truths, 16 realizations that we come to have as a result of that direct perception, having gone into it with bodhicitta. I need to make that clear. And coming out, we have these realizations. And because of that, on our 4th path, we are now have realized that, oh my gosh, my behavior towards others is how I create my experience, not in the moment, but now creates my future, right? Samadhi always says, my present is my past and my future, how does he say that? My past is my present and my present is my future. So what I'm experiencing now is a result of things I thought, said, did towards others before. Because you can't plant a seed and get its result at the same time, because then it's not cause and effect. So it has to take some time. And then that means what I'm doing, seeing, thinking, saying, doing towards other, whether it's inanimate other or animate other, is creating the circumstances of what I will experience in the future. So that's gotten so clear in our minds that on our fourth path, our path of habituation, we're just like determined to let our seeds of ignorance burn off, which they've got to do, and plant the behavior that will create Buddha me and Buddha paradise emanating. Oh, what behaviors are those? A practice of giving, sharing, moral discipline, not getting angry, joyous effort, meditation. So you're not done meditating just because you've seen emptiness directly. And then perfection of wisdom, which we're doing all those others now with our understanding of the no self nature of subject-object interaction between. So this beautiful spiral is happening where even in our learning, wanting to create the goodness to see emptiness directly, we're working with those perfections as perfectionizers. Remember course 6? And then as that goodness grows, we reach that place, direct perception, that when we come out of it, we now know directly that what we see still looks like they're in them from them, but they cannot be that. We know we're wrong. We know the discrepancy between how we're experiencing our world and how our world really exists. How we're experiencing our experiences as from them and how they really exist, which is ripening results of my past behaviors. And so opportunities to create my future. I was going somewhere with that and I just got distracted. Coming out of the direct perception, we go back to perceiving things as in them, from them, just like before. Why? Because the seeds that we have are still stained with that. But now they're colored with the understanding that that's not true. So on our path of habituation, every seed out still has the mistake, but we don't believe it anymore. Which means when we plant our seeds, new seeds, the new seeds have that's not true, right? The new seeds have the reject of the self-existence of the things we're experiencing. And that means every new seed is growing our wisdom, whether we're thinking about it or not. The more we think about it, right, as a new baby Arya, the faster we plant our seeds of wisdom. So, but they say that even if you don't do anything else, what is it? 7 lifetimes. 7 lifetimes to Buddhahood once you've seen emptiness directly. Now you can crank up the juice and make it less than 7 with various practices, etc. But you can see how the math works. You do have to still purify all the seeds that are still in there that were made with the belief in the self-existence of things having their own nature. Those need to be either burned off or purified in some way. And then, but you're never planting another seed, not an instant, not a 65th of an instant of seeds with full-on ignorance after our direct perception. That's why it's so important. That's why it's such a powerful, powerful experience to have, because you're then on the conveyor belt to the end of all suffering. if you've had that experience with bodhicitta in your heart, doing it on behalf of the end of suffering for all existing beings, then the conveyor belt we're on is the one to Buddhahood. If that experience was driven by, I want to stop my own suffering, I believe nirvana is the highest I can reach, then you're on the conveyor belt to nirvana, which is not a bad thing. It's just not the final goal. So when we're in emptiness directly, it is true. There's no body, there's no feelings, there's no ability to discriminate. There are none of the other factors that make you up, and there is no awareness. Right? You are not aware of anything but the absence of self nature of all those things. Got it? Time for a break. Let's take a break. Get refreshed, please. I'm going to stop share so I can pause the recording. I'm talking to the recording here. Pause. 2. Geshe-la has a little more to say about this. Ma kyepa ma gakpa. Things don't start and things don't stop. Used a couple of examples. One is, if you're the boss and you have an employee, and the employee at first is really amazing and responsible, and then over time they get sloppy and unreliable, our ignorant nature is to call them out, and what's wrong with you? You're really reliable and responsible, and now you're behaving differently, and you better change your behavior or you're going to get fired, right? His example was the opposite, but like you were the one getting angry at the boss for blaming you for stuff. But I like to turn it around. Who changed? Did the employee change? And our minds want to say, oh, they were really sloppy and unreliable, and they were just putting on a show of being not that. And now they let their guard down and they're showing me the real them. And it's like, wrong. No, it's our seeds ripening that changed that employee. So does that mean we're stuck with them because, well, it's my seeds. I can't fire them because I can't blame them. And it's like, maybe, maybe not. But whether you fire them or don't fire them, we would need to change our own seeds in order to either see them change or to see the next employee we get not do the same thing, be the same way. So the subtleties of this understanding are really profound because everything lands on our own shoulders, and that's too big for a lot of people. So if you're in a class like this, if you're studying ACI and you stay, it's because you have this big enough heart to hear personal responsibility and go, whoa, that's the ticket. But not everybody has the seeds for that. I don't have the seeds to see everybody have the seeds for that, which means don't go right to your friends and family and tell them, you are responsible for absolutely everything that happens in your life. So quit complaining about me, right? The tendency is to do that. Don't, please. It isn't seeds that you want. Use your own understanding to take personal responsibility to change your own behavior. And as they see your behavior change, right, they'll wonder about it. Our seeds will change how we see them, whether they're interested or not. Their capacity will change according to our seeds changing. Do you see? Apparently in the scripture, somebody goes, excuse me, what about the sunrise? Come on. The sun begins to rise and then it ends rising, right? It's there. And then it sets. Come on. That's something that's happening independent of my karma because it happens to everybody, right? The sun rises whether the worms underground know it or not. The sun rises even if somebody's sound asleep. See, there are some things that begin and end on their own, right? Wrong. But it's hard, isn't it? What about gravity? Come on, gravity. Those are things to investigate. There isn't anything that we can experience or know about or even think about that is not our seeds ripening to know about it, experience it, think about it. Like, can we experience something that we cannot experience? No. Could you establish there's an existing thing that you can't experience? No. Does that mean there are things that does that mean that there's nothing that exists beyond your personal experience? No. But how would you establish it to exist for you? You couldn't, could you? And so studying emptiness can like lead us off into this no man's land of black holes and, oh, what's it like for nothing to exist? And that's a danger of studying emptiness. The scriptures, the Mahayana scriptures say, make sure you've grown your compassion before you study emptiness, because we need to have a good reason for delving into this no self nature of subjects, objects, and interactions between. And that will keep us from falling into that, oh, so nothing really exists. Our minds do it like so automatically. In my own experience, when I'm working with this, no, there's nothing there but my projection, my mind automatically goes, okay, so it doesn't exist at all. And I get back to the middle here, right? That's how things exist. Our karmic ripenings make things, and they are real. There's no such thing as something that exists independent of your karmic seed ripening you to know about it, experience it, hear it, feel it, etc. Those things are all real. Everything you've ever experienced has been real because they've all been your projected results of past behavior. Anything that was in it from it was not real. In fact, doesn't exist, impossible. Remember Nagarjuna's impossible versus invisible, right? Impossible, self-existent things are impossible. Geshe-la said, here's something very profound. See if you can get it. I'm quoting him here. Karma creates international boundaries. International borders are created by karma. The karmas of the people on either side. And it's a really weird thing, right? It's like there's this line. And you cross that line and you're under the jurisdiction of completely different people, completely different rules, right? Some of us just were in and out of airports, right? And it's like from one to the next. Or you can see driving down I-10, you get into El Paso and the highway is right bordering the fence. And Mexico's over there and United States is over here. And it's like, come on, there's no physical thing, right? Karmic seeds ripening for this group and karmic seeds ripening for that group and the karmic seeds ripening that there's a line between. And it's like, no, you know, they designated it because of this river and that river. And it's like, no, all of that driven by our karmas. There don't have to be borders. The group of people on this side are all ripening similar seeds from similar past behavior. You could say probably done as a group before. That's a little hard for me. But similar seeds at the similar times is what makes this country, and that country, that country. All constantly changeable. So here's another thing I want you to hear. He says, it is true that things do not exist from their own side, and that does not make them unreal. It is true that things have an unreal nature, and that is good enough to say that they exist. It's true that things don't exist from their own side. That does not make them unreal. It's true that things have an unreal nature, meaning empty nature, and that is good enough to say that they exist. To experience something establishes its existence. Do you remember? What's the definition of existence? That which is perceived by a valid perception. Okay. Things don't start and things don't stop. Drima mepa, drima dongdrowa mepa, meaning the impurities. Things are not pure and not impure. So in the direct perception of emptiness, of course, there's neither pure nor impure things, because there's nothing but the ultimate reality of all existing things. Their absence, thinking of anything or its purity or impurity is all presences, and that's not happening during the direct perception of ultimate reality. Troni Lama says when Lord Buddha is having these two talk about purities and impurities, he's not talking about whether water's pure enough to drink or not. He's talking about the impurities in our own minds, as in our mental afflictions. So our stinky mental afflictions, right? Blaming somebody else for our pleasantness or unpleasantness, even blaming the triple berry pie for the pleasure. It's all mistaken and so stained and so stinky, impure. And if those beliefs and reactions and emotions and states of mind had some nature in them from them, then they would be existing independent of our behavior, and that would mean we could not change them. If our jealousy continues, regardless of whether we act on it each time we have it, then we are stuck with our jealousy forever. If our jealousy also has no nature of jealousy in it from it, then that means every time a moment of jealousy comes up and we recognize it and decide to, number one, not act on it, we'll burn it off. Number two, do the opposite, which burns it off in plants different. It's faster, right? Than just not reacting. Bump on a log is a good thing. You don't replant it, but replant the opposite and you've burned it off and gained some wisdom seed. So we like think them through. Jealousy is my specialty. What's the opposite of jealousy? No. You find the one that works for you. Classically, it's rejoicing in the good seeds I have to see them have that good quality. Woohoo! Instead of, and it's enough to burn off and plant new in this direction that you want to go. If our jealousy had its own nature, it wouldn't matter how many times you made yourself be happy for their success when you didn't want to be. It wouldn't make any difference in our mind. The fact that it does, the fact that we can be jealous sometimes and not others, means that jealousy has no nature of its own. But when we hear jealousy doesn't have any nature of its own, some part of our minds go, oh, so it doesn't exist at all. It's not real. It's very real. It makes us do stupid things because it's a projection. Do you see? So it is true that in the direct perception, these things are not happening. Coming out of the direct perception, we now are keenly aware that they are happening. You know, the appearing side experience of reality is full of all these impure states of mind because of my ignorance that drove my selfishness, that drove my fourth heap of all the other factors of blaming everybody and everything for my experience. So we have a whole lot of impure seeds to burn off, none of which have any nature of their own. So the ones we think are there actually don't exist. But the ones that are there are the ones we planted by way of our behavior. And those exist and they make very real experiences, right? That we are hot on the heels of ending. So hooray. So let's stop there. I'm going to mark my book. Darn, I just didn't quite get where I wanted to go. But we need the time to do this last meditation. Not last, this meditation for this class. So, yeah, get yourself settled. We'll do our preliminaries and then the 3 steps, Kedrubje's 3 steps that we've learned already, and then we'll add the 4th today. Okay. So settle in. All right, feel your body solid on your cushion. Do a body scan, top down, inviting that body to relax. You get down to the bottom Go inside to that subtle energy body. See it, feel it lifting. So your physical body is nicely tethered. Your energy body is rising, not out of you, but lifting. Come to your breath at your nostrils with every out breath. The physical world drops away. Your physical body relaxes more. With every in breath, your attention becomes more bright, more eager. Turn your attention to that precious holy being before you, gazing at you with that unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating to you. Recall that other being the one who's hurting. And how they help you grow your wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all beings. And again, recognize how that precious being there with you knows what you need to know, knows what you need to learn yet, do yet. And so feel your admiration for them. Feel how they inspire you. And tell them, honor them in some way. It's called make a mental prostration. Ask them to help you with this meditation. And feel your gratitude to them so that you want to make them an offering. What they like best is to hear you, to see you, hear yourself telling them about something from your practice, something recent that you thought or said or did because of something that they've taught you. See how happy they are to hear you tell them. And feeling so safe with them. Clean something else from your heart, some negativity, something recent. Use your refuge and regret. Establish this meditation as your antidote. And then establish a power of restraint. Something you can really accomplish. So we rejoice in the virtues of all. Tell them of another a special kindness that you did recently. And one that you saw someone else do. And another one, yours or someone else's. Again, see your holy being so happy with you. Ask them to please, please stay close, to continue to guide you and teach you. Ask them to help you see them teaching you, even if it's coming through beings that don't look like them. Pray that anyone around you that helps uplift you stays close. And then dedicate just this much to seeing yourself able to help that other in that deep and ultimate way someday soon. Then if you need to shift and wiggle, you do it now. And then settle back in. Now, first, I'd like you to open your eyes and scan your room without moving your head, just your eyeballs, what you can see. And see the different things in your room. Some of which includes parts of your body. Now, either eyes open or eyes closed. Pretend you're this very small child. And you're experiencing this room. You're having experiences, but you really don't have stories and identities attached to all those things. And do this either in your mind's eye or actually pretending you can see those things and not know and not care what they are. Just curious. Actually quite difficult. Now close your eyes and mentally scan the room, remembering those items that are there. In step 2, we let ourselves experience those items in our ignorant, ordinary, automatic way. Their identity, their qualities in them, from them. So pick one. As you're mentally experiencing it, get in touch with the belief about it that its identity is in it. It's showing itself to you. It exists out there from its own side. Its identity, its qualities, whether it's pleasurable or not. We're finding the gakcha. We want it to be very clear. Even use reasoning for why we believe that that object has its own nature and how its reality is based on its own nature. Find that feeling, that belief. Now, step 3. Use your favorite logic, your favorite reasoning to show yourself that maybe that's not true. Your belief that the things in it, from it. One easy reasoning for material objects is to ask the question, does every being perceive this the same way I do? Does any being perceive this the same way I do? course, the answer is no. No one experiences it exactly the same as I do. What does that say about the identity and quality of the object? So that means something about us is making us experience that object in the way that we do. Pretend that that's true. And pretend that you can experience those seeds ripening, making this overlay onto information that makes that object become what it is. Now drop back to your belief that the thing's identity is in it. Go back to level 2. It has to be in it. It's there the same every time I come back to see it. If I reach out, I could touch it. If I'm not careful, I could break it. Feel how strong we believe the thing's identity is there, in it, from it. Then shift back to level 1, being the little kid, little baby. No identity laid on that information. What is it? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Go back to level 2. Oh, baby, someday you'll know. You'll learn that thing's identity and its function and its story. Because you'll come to see. You just have to learn what's in it, what's from it. Find that belief. And then show yourself how that cannot be true if two beings can experience the same apparent object differently. Feel the conclusion. Oh, unique to me. And imagine you can see that uniqueness of the thing being overlaid on information by your own awareness of it. Your awareness of it makes it real. Now let's go to step 4. One version of step 4 is to start from step 2. See the object. Let your mind think of it as coming from its own side, its identity in it, from it. And then remove the object that's in it from it. What's left? Start again. See the object. Feel that same old feeling that it's coming from its side. Decide that that's impossible. And what's left? Go back to scanning your room, to your mind's eye, all those different things. Show yourself a thing that is there that is coming from it. No such thing, right? Now find one of those things in your room that you particularly like, that gives you a special pleasure. gazing upon it in your mind's eye. Recognize that feeling, that its identity is in it. Its quality is what brings you the pleasure. And then recognize that its quality giving you pleasure is a result of some past kindness that you have done. So now gaze upon and enjoy that object with the understanding that its qualities, its identity is a result of your kindness. And so your kindness is appearing as that thing now. Anything will bring us pleasure when it is a result of kindness. Everything will bring us pleasure when all we have ripening is results of kindness. That's how Buddha paradise is created. That's how it's possible. So scan your room one more time, recognizing that all of it is a result of some past kind of kindness. To just have a room is extraordinary goodness. And lastly, feel your conclusion then, which is recognizing the power of kind behavior, recognizing the power of our own behavior towards other as our power of creation. And feel your wish to plant the seeds that when they ripen will be a world free of suffering for everyone. And be happy with yourself for your efforts in this practice, in this class. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, and then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness and the wisdom that creates it. And may it be so. Nice job. So we'll repeat those 4 steps of Kedrib Jay's meditation in each class, so it'll get more clear how to do it. The first time, it's like really slippery. Like, what happens to the object when I remove its self-existent nature that was never there in the first place? Like, the object doesn't change. But we're sure it should change, right? Because I'm trying to see its emptiness. Doesn't it have to disappear? And it's like, no, it can't disappear. So, right, grapple with it for a few days before your questions start popping up. Let it percolate, try it on for size, and then we'll have a chance to explore its ramifications as we do more of it. It's a really, really useful tool, this sequence. Now, I have to admit, I don't do the first one very much. And I do spend a little time on step 2, really catching the self-existent part. I like to explore the other 2 and the different aspects of pretending I can put the seed on, and then looking for what's there without that. And that you'll eventually find yourself going through the 6 different levels of the Mahamudra, not the one that's coming up that I'll be teaching, but the different schools. You'll see your own mind explaining your experience according to the different levels of the different schools. It's quite fascinating. No, there has to be something in it, because the thing is there for me to project onto. There has to be something there. Okay. I never actually experience it directly, because all I can experience directly is my own seeds. This is mind-only school, right? But there's something there that functions. And it's even lower, highest school, right? Independent school. It's like, don't need to identify what's there from it. Just interact with what you bring to the party, like the magic show. Just understand that there has to be something that gets the magic, but doesn't matter what it is, because you're going to change it. And then highest school, it's like, well, when you go looking for that, you can't find it either. It's still the same process. when you go looking for the thing that gets the label, you don't find anything but the process of labels happening, ripenings, ripenings, ripenings. So this meditation can take us there. Quite beautiful. All right, end of class. So see you on Monday morning for class 6. Please try this meditation on for size. Okay. All right. So any burning questions? I don't want to leave you hanging in a black hole. Good. All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a lovely weekend. I'm stopping the recording. Stopping. Hello, Natty. Pause. Stop recording.
Thank you, dear.